The following is a production of Fenix Media. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the company or its advertisers, and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners. Hello everybody and welcome to Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos. We are your daily dose of everything geeky, nerdy, everything from movies, TV, video games, comic books, and more. And today being Wednesday, September 22nd, it is a Video Game Wednesday. So everything we're talking about is all about video games, including the nerd news, which kicks off this show each and every day. So let's go ahead and get into that segment here with the nerd news. Well, Star Wars Hunters, the free-to-play mobile game coming to Nintendo Switch and mobile devices, has released a new cinematic trailer that shows off a number of the game's playable characters, including a very unlikely duo. Star Wars Hunters has remained further off radar than even the Dagobah system since its initial announcement as part of the February 2021 Nintendo Direct. With very few details shared at the Nintendo event, aside from a short teaser trailer and the game's logo, fans' first real look at the title came during the release of its recent cinematic trailer and shows off a number of characters in the game. So with that being said, let's go ahead and watch that trailer now.
Going in. Lose your team again, Reed?
Don't need them to take you on, Aaron. You'll have to do better than that.
She's all yours, Graz. For the Empire!
I can handle this, Sentinel.
Think again. It ends here.
Looks like we do this together.
Let's show them what we got. Run time.
Targets acquired.
On my mark.
It doesn't get closer than this. Down to the last 30 seconds.
Fantastic. What a great night, Alex.
Winning streak here. Do not let me down.
You must be going for my record.
And now, here are today's combatants.
This ought to be good.
No kidding, it ought to be good. It looks fantastic. Well, moving on in the nerd news, the Nintendo Switch can now be paired with a Bluetooth audio device following the latest firmware update. Starting last week, Switch owners who update their Switch to the latest software can pair a wireless Bluetooth device to the Switch, something the Switch was apparently able to do this entire time given the right software patch. To do so, Switch owners must download the latest firmware patch. From there, they can find a Bluetooth audio option within the System Settings page. Once you select Pair, the Switch will search for an available Bluetooth audio device and connect to one when found. The Switch can only be synced to one audio device at a time, but can save up to 10 devices on the system, which is great news if you use earbuds or wireless headphones. Moving on, Digital Eclipse wants to revive Marvel vs. Capcom 2 with a remaster, and the studio head says discussions about the project have begun. In an interview with GamerHub TV on YouTube, Digital Eclipse's Mike Mika said both Disney and Capcom have been approached about the idea. We've begun some discussions on that right now, and we're trying to see how far we can go, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's really not up to us, Mika said. So all we can do is just make the best case possible and try to make it easy for them and see if they're interested. In 2009, Digital Eclipse, called Backbone Entertainment at the time, released a port of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the PS3 and Xbox 360 digital storefronts. The game was pulled at the end of 2013 after Capcom's license to use Marvel's characters expired. Earlier this summer, the #FreeMVC2 campaign exploded in an effort from fans to try and make the game more easily accessible. Since becoming Digital Eclipse in 2015, the studio has become known for remastering classic games. Digital Eclipse has worked on collections for Mega Man, Street Fighter, SNK, Disney, and more. So there's certainly hope there if you're a fan of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which may or may not come up again here later in the show. And then finally, here in the nerd news, it appears that a remake for Destroy All Humans 2 is real and in development. In a now-deleted tweet, PlayStation officially announced the Destroy All Humans 2, reprobed, noting the game will come to the PS5. A trailer was also shared in the tweet as well, but mentioned no release date. The end of the trailer also notes that THQ and Black Force Games are tied to the remake. The latter also developed the remake for the original Destroy All Humans. The tweet has since been deleted ahead of a planned THQ Nordic 10th anniversary live stream set for later this week, which I expect we will probably see that trailer and the official announcement come out then. Well, folks, that does do it for the nerd news. When we come back, we've got our daily deep dive with reviews of Marvel's Future Revolution. We've got Tony reviewing Capcom Arcade Stadium. Our Retro Rewind is a game that I just mentioned, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And of course, rounding out the day, we've got Kollector Korner, as we do each and every day. So stay tuned, enjoy the commercial break, and we will see you guys in just a few.
My precious. Ooh, yeah, let me tell you something right here, It's the Loot Crate subscription box, yeah, full of exclusive loot, fun surprises delivered to your door every month.
Just pick up your favorite geeky genre, Daddy.
From the original Loot Crate, the Loot Crate DX collectible boxes, dude! Cowabunga!
To the Loot Gaming video game box.
Woohoo! Yee-hoo!
Box. What's with kids today, huh?
Wowzers! With crits starting as low as $11.99 per month, there's a box just about for all collectors.
To get your geek on, head over to phoenixmedia.us/Loot Crate and claim your exclusive offer. That's FENIXmedia.us/Loot Crate. Great Scott!
Snap into a Loot Crate, dig it?
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. But he's a part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. No time for tired. Nothing can disable this love. He needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at phoenixmedia.us. Welcome back, folks, to Fenix and Filippo, Pop Culture Chaos. Yes, we are here in the middle of Video Game Wednesday and talking, video games. We just got done with the nerd news. Now we're getting ready to head into our daily deep dive. Couple reviews for you today, so let's go ahead and get on into it.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
First up in the daily deep dive is my review. You got that Big Lebowski soundbite that, from the old show to the new show, looking for some new stuff to change it up a little bit. But in any case, my review is for a mobile game that recently came out called Marvel Future Revolution, which is Marvel's first open world action RPG mobile game. As members of the Omega Flight team, players will work together to battle an onslaught of supervillains, confront their nefarious behaviors, and defend the universe. And I gotta say, aside from the whole getting it set up, because, you download the app, and then once you download the app, you have to basically download this massive game patch download that takes forever. I mean, I've got some really good internet here, and it took a while. But once you get into it, the game itself is fantastic. The graphics are beautiful, especially for a mobile game. It is truly an open world, beat 'em up, sort of along the lines of like X-Men Legends or Marvel Ultimate Alliance. My only qualm with it is playing it on my iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is the big screen. There's still so many buttons that all of the fighting buttons take up almost the entire right half of the screen, which makes that a little difficult. However, if you could pair your Xbox controller to it, or you got one of those controllers that basically plug into either side, and then you could set up the buttons that way, I think the game would be nearly a perfect Marvel fighting game. Again, story mode, the controls are easy, graphics are beautiful. I don't know if you've had a chance to play it yet, Tone, but I would highly recommend downloading it, giving it time to download the patch. And really, you can just sort of pick it up on the go, or if you're on the pot and just, need something to play for a little bit, it's well worth it. And I'm a little surprised because, you and I reviewed the trailer for Marvel Midnight Suns on Proton Pack a couple weeks ago, which the cinematic trailer looked awesome. But when they revealed the gameplay is so basic. The graphics were sort of meh. And it's a turn-based RPG game, which, is really sort of more relegated for mobile, not a console game that's going to be on. Whereas this is the complete opposite. It's truly open world. You've got, you can change your camera angles. You've got all sorts of attacks. And it's really, really a cool game. And I didn't give you a chance to answer, Tone, but I don't know, did you at least download it yet?
Nope, never played it, man. So
I would say, yeah,
it looks good. I know, like with mobile games, my problem with them is you got to be somewhere where you got good phone service, or you got to be connected to the Wi-Fi. So like, where I would normally get a chance to sit and play would be the airplane or something like that. And typically I don't have connection. So a lot of the mobile games I don't really get into for whatever reason. But I do know Marvel puts out a lot of really good ones. It's just haven't really got a chance to sit down and do it. So
yeah, Contest of Champions, that's a good fighting game. This one, I get the sense that you don't have to be connected to the internet at all times. Once you download the patch, it's there for you to play on the go, whether you're connected or not. The other nice thing is when you are downloading that giant update, you get this little like 8-bit sort of Star-Lord game that you get to play, and it's Star-Lord flying and shooting. It's almost sort of like, not Galaga, but what were the side-scroller shooting flying games where you're...
Like R-Type?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah, R-Type, Flying Z, all kinds of stuff like that.
And so it gives you something to do while you're waiting for the download to go through. But once the download goes through, it's well worth it. So, Tony, I would say before you go to work, download it, let it do its thing, and then give it a shot. Give it a chance to play. But for me, on the deep dive review of Marvel Future Revolution, I would give it a 9 out of 10, especially for a mobile game.
All right. Well, I will check that one out. I'll let you know. It sounds right up my alley. Definitely, Marvel games are typically really good. So,
yeah, well worth checking out. Now, Tony, the game that you chose is actually a variety game, something that we both downloaded on the Switch. Something that, goes back to our nostalgic love, and it really goes back to the way that we play video games in just short little bursts. And so what we're talking about here is the Capcom Arcade Stadium. Tony, go ahead and give your review, and then, we'll talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so Capcom Arcade Stadium is something that dropped for the Nintendo Switch back in about February or March. They got a little bit of a head start, and it's a classics of games from the 80s all the way to the 90s. So it's a nostalgic-infused game, and Capcom has a lot of great titles that you might want to go back and play if you grew up with them or if you're new. The graphics might not be quite up your alley, as they appeal to more people our age. It's available for the Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One. It's on Steam. You have 32 different arcade titles and, some of the big games on there. I'm just going to read out the big ones that might be appealing because there's a lot of no-name games that obscure games would be what I would look for. But I would say, your big ones is you got 1942, 1943, which are the airplane shoot 'em up games. You got Commando, Ghost and Goblins, Ghouls and Ghosts, Section Z, which is the game I was thinking about for the Star-Lord, where you're up and flying and shooting. You've got the one big game I really wanted to get this collection for was Strider. I loved playing Strider as a kid at Long's Drug on Highway 50. Before it got tore down, I used to go in there and while my mom would grocery shop. Well, I don't even know if that's really grocery because it was kind of just a drugstore. So you kind of got just some stuff. But that's where I fell in love with Strider, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, Samurai Showdown. Those were the 3 arcades they had there. But Strider was a go-to for me and loved it. Got it on the Sega Genesis. Enjoyed the hell out of it. But this is the big one for me. It's got Bionic Commando, Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, Final Fight is on there, Captain Commando, a lot of other games, but 32 different games you can play. And what makes this different from other console versions of these games is you compete against around the world. So if I wanted to play against you, we could do special challenges. You could compete against other points. There's a worldwide leaderboard. So a lot of replayability to try to beat the scores. There is, you can unlock invincibility. So if some of these games you always wanted to play through and you couldn't, like Strider,
or Ghouls and Ghosts,
unlimited amount of credits. Yes. Now you have invincibility, so you can play through. You can decorate your wallpaper as you play. You can get a good feel for the arcade. You can change the CR filters to feel just like it. There's a rewind feature, so games like Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins, you don't have to start from the beginning. You just rewind where you just died, kick it, and you can save and load whenever you want. So a lot of replayability. You could definitely beat it. And plus, these games are fun to just pick up, play through, get a high score, kill a few minutes, some time. I really enjoy it. I'm a sucker for nostalgia. I absolutely love nostalgia. Now, the price tag for this game is $40. So with it being Capcom, I personally think it is worth the $40 download. These games are a lot of fun. But if you're not in any hurry, keep an eye out because Capcom does tend to put their games on sale really cheap. So maybe watch for a sale to get it that way. Or if you're just curious to try, you can download it's Ghosts and Goblins for free and 1941, or is it 42?
It's 42.
They have one of the 42. Okay, so you can get those games for free as a sample. So you can download Capcom Arcade Stadium for free, and you get those games in there, and well worth it. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10 because you got 32 games for $40. That's almost a little less, under $1 a game. And the replayability is fantastic. You can play it in Japanese. You can play it in English. And there's a lot of hidden gems on there. And yeah, there are some crap-ass games on there, and it ranges everywhere from 1984 to, the late 90s. So highly, highly worth it, especially if you're a Street Fighter fan. I mean, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo is on there. Just a fantastic game. I would love it if down the line they added more games to it because there are a lot of games missing from the from this. But
hell, the entire Mega Man collection. I mean,
yeah, you don't have any of the Mega Man fighters, and those were a couple of arcade games that were obscure. But definitely, I'm a huge fan of Capcom. I typically love things that Capcom does, especially if it's nostalgia, and they've done this right. Load times are great. The fact you could take it on the go on the Switch is fantastic. Now, you can't get this in hard form, so you're not going to be able to get a disc or a little Switch cartridge. It is download only, so make sure you got some space. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space, but you know what? Fantastic game. Recommend it on all platforms. Couldn't say enough nice things about this.
Yeah, I downloaded the free version. I got, Ghosts and Goblins, or was it Ghouls and Ghosts? One of the two. And then the 1942. And then as far as I understand, you can actually purchase the individual games. So if you just want one or two more, you can go through and buy those. I don't know exactly how much they are each, but I would say if you want to get the bulk of the games, just put down the $40, or like Tony said, wait until Capcom does a sale and go from there. Well, folks, that does it for this segment in our daily deep dive. But when we come back, we're going to be talking Retro Rewind. Again, going back to the idea of retro games that we love. And this is one you certainly won't want to miss. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
What if I told you that a tornado was going to happen tomorrow, right where you live? That it would touch down at exactly 3:17 p.m., and I told you the exact path it would take. You would, of course, prepare. You would talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a tornado will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you have a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
I spend a lot of time in the backyard, and I'm the center of attention at summer barbecues. In '96, I made some of the tastiest s'mores. And in '09, it was me, your backyard fire pit, that accidentally started a wildfire when a summer breeze carried one of my embers into some dry brush.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see, every moment can be kind of special. But they can be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at phoenixmedia.us. Welcome back, folks, to Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos. Now, we are all over social media, with many of you watching us as we speak on Facebook Live or YouTube Live. Now, if you want to get a hold of me on social, I'm available at facebook.com/Christian Fenix Radio. That's Christian with a K, Phoenix with an F, radio, of course, with an R, or on Instagram and Twitter at Fenix Media Radio. Tony is available at facebook.com/Filippo5381, or on Instagram at Tony.SanFilippo81. And that Facebook page is where Tony does all of his Filippo horrible reviews, so I would definitely recommend checking that out. And as he sees new movies or TV shows, things like that, that's where he puts up those reviews. All right, so we are into the third segment of the show, which is always our Retro Rewind, and let's go ahead and get into it. So in this case, in our last segment, in our daily deep dive, we were talking my review of Marvel Future Revolution. Tony did his review of Capcom Arcade Stadium. Well, you've got Marvel, you've got Capcom. If only they could join forces. Wait, they did many, many times. So for instance, they started out with, I think it was X-Men versus Street Fighter. And then it was, Marvel Superheroes. And then Marvel vs. Capcom, which brings us to the video and the game that we're talking about today, which is one of our favorites of all time. Yes, we're talking Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Let's watch the intro here real quick.
Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom.
Ready?
Marvel vs. Capcom 2. New Age of Heroes.
The intro to me was always a little on the cheesy side. It always felt a little more like a game show than anything. But the game itself was awesome. Came out in arcades in 2000. It received ports to the Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, was on iOS. I still have the iOS version, which was a tough one to play. But the game system was awesome. You know, it was the first of sort of this tag team thing where you picked, a number of characters to play as, and then you could sort of switch out your characters. The lineup was huge. I mean, just on the Marvel side, you had Blackheart, Cable, Captain America, Colossus, Cyclops, Doctor Doom, Gambit, Hulk, Iceman, Iron Man, Juggernaut, Magneto, Marrow, Omega Red, Psylocke, Rogue, Sabretooth, Sentinel, Shuma-Gorath, Silver Samurai, Spider-Man, Spiral, Storm, Thanos, Venom, War Machine, and then 2 versions of Wolverine. You had just as many characters on the Capcom side with Akuma, Amingo, Anna Karis, BB Hood, Cammy White, Captain Commando, Charlie Nash, Chun-Li, Dan Hibiki, Dalzim, Felicia, Guile, Hayato Kanzaki, Jill Valentine, Jin Saitomi, Ken Masters, M. Bison, Mega Man, Morgan, Roll, Ruby Heart, Ryu, Sakura, Servbot, Sun, Strider, Tron, and Zangief. Boy, that's a mouthful to say, especially on the Capcom side.
Holy crap, I can't believe you read all 56 of them. Jeez.
I did.
No. Yeah, I read all 50.
And
There's so many.
The cool thing was that, you didn't start out with all those characters. You had to earn them along the way, so it made the replay value that much better. Had so much fun with it. And then, Tony, I think you discovered later on that the actual disc versions of the game are not only hard to come by, but they're worth quite a bit of money, right?
Oh, my God. Yeah. So I remember playing this for the first time at your house in not 19.
It was 2000.
Was it 90? It was 2000.
Because I just got the Dreamcast. Yep.
Yeah, I went over to your house and you had picked it up because you were the only one I knew that had one. And I remember playing it at your house and just what a game, man. It was so much fun. And then I ended up picking it up for the Dreamcast, and same thing. I loved that you had to unlock the characters. And then I ended up getting it for my PlayStation 2. When the Dreamcast died, they released it for the PS2, and we had it at Costco. I got it for $10 at Costco during a clearance run, and that game now, and I ended up selling mine for $100. So I made $100. It now goes for like $150 to $200.
That's crazy.
Just that game, the PlayStation 2 disc version. So I did get $100 for it, so I made money off the deal. I can't be mad. Mm-hmm. But it was one of my. It is probably, if not top 5 favorite video games of all time. It was my favorite of the Versus series. Like, of course, I love Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I love the original. I loved X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes. I loved all those games, but this one had your 56 characters, just massive. Just the way you could get all your characters and they could do the triple attack and how easy it was to play. You could be just a noob and not know what the hell you're doing. It was a button masher. You just hit buttons and it did so much stuff and it was so cool. And it was the combos of characters. Like, just because some of your characters looked really cool, it didn't mean that they portrayed very well. Right. Like what was some of your favorites on the game, like character-wise?
Oh, man. I always tried to get, because you would do a 3-on-3. So I tried to get a good mix of distance attack character, close attack character, and like a heavy. So I almost always played on the Marvel side, with the exception of Ryu, just because, Ryu's kind of a classic on the Capcom. So Wolverine was always a staple in my arsenal. Usually it was Cyclops or Venom, who had these really good long distance attacks. And then for distance, it was either for the big bad, it was either Juggernaut or Hulk. And I always thought that was a good combination. Now, somebody I could always put in there was Cable. Cable's super was just massive. It was that giant gun with the big blast. But I had so much fun with that game and really just trying to, figure out, okay, who's going to be the best matchup for who I'm facing against, whether it was online play, you and I playing, or it was against the computer, and had so much fun with it. Now, did you have a team of go-tos that you went with?
I did, yeah. Like a monster combo was like Iron Man, Cable, and Gambit. Those 3 were really good. You also could take Trombone. She had that bitchin' one where she'd hit you and her super move would be all those little Lego guys, the little serve bots.
Yeah.
And it'd be like a 57 to 60 hit combo when it hits you. So I loved having her in there for different attacks at times. Of course, loved Wolverine and Strider. BB Hood was another big one. Like, she's just this little girl in a Little Red Riding Hood thing, but she would kick little landmines at you. She had machine gun, and her super move would just kill you. So if you found like people with the biggest super moves and you could get a triple massive combo to finish them off, you could really do some damage. And the timing of when they would tag in their opponents were just crazy. Another big thing I liked about this game too was you would call in your little extra guys, right?
That's right, yeah.
You like, so Arthur from Ghouls and Ghosts wasn't playable in this game, but he was like, you could call upon him to be like a special fourth attack. And I think they had Rogue would fly in and she could do a little damage. And so you had all these other Capcom characters that you couldn't play as, but they'd come in and do stuff. And it was just, what a flippin' great game this thing was.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And it's, to this day, it still plays phenomenally. Phenomenally. I can't say the word, but it's phenomenal. The one games I was disappointed when it came back out a few years ago. Well, now I'm thinking it's 10 years ago. But it came out on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. The bad thing about that was everything was unlocked for you.
Right from the get-go,
everything
exactly.
was ready to go. Right from the get-go. Every level, everything was unlocked. So the replayability wasn't as good, I didn't think. Like, whereas the PlayStation 2, the original Xbox, and the Dreamcast versions, you would go into the store and you would get your characters. And what you could do is, like, if you found Wolverine was in there and he was 1,000 points, you would just back out and go back into the store, and sometimes he'd be 400 points. Like, that was weird.
It was a crapshoot, exactly.
Change. Yeah. So, but it was cool. And the only way to unlock your characters was you had to play through the game over and over and over to get points. And you would unlock new costumes and new colors and things. Oh, it was great.
It's such a fun game.
It was
and then,
so much better.
Yeah, and as we mentioned at the top of the show in the Nerd News, we're getting closer to a re-release version of it, which I'm looking forward to. But regardless, stay tuned here on the Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos Show, and we'll let you know as soon as that information is released, because we're going to be picking up. Well, folks, that does it for this segment. When we come back, it's time for Kollector Korner, and Tony's going to leave us to take off, but we will have more show for you. Don't go anywhere.
Let's go, bub.
Dear John, I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is serious, and I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to when you checked on me? I don't want to leave, but remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart and don't let it quit on you. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range today. For help keeping yours at a healthy range, text PRESSURE to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. Take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman!
You just need FeedThePig.org. Don't get left behind. Get tips and tools at FeedThePig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all gotta see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Behold my process. Ooh, yeah, let me tell you something right here.
It's the Loot Crate subscription box, yeah, full of exclusive loot, fun surprises delivered to your door every month.
Just pick up your favorite geeky genre, Daddy.
From the original Loot Crate, the Loot Crate DX collectible boxes, dude! Cowabunga!
To the Loot Gaming video game box.
Woohoo! Yee-hoo!
Loot Crate Corner box. What's with kids today, huh?
Wowzers! With crits starting as low as $11.99 per month, there's a box just about for all collectors. To get your geek on, head over to phoenixmedia.us/Loot Crate and claim your exclusive offer. That's FENIXmedia.us/Loot Crate. Great Scott!
Snap into a Loot Crate, dig it?
You're listening to Fenix Media. Listen live and explore more great shows at phoenixmedia.us. Welcome back, folks, to the fourth and final segment of Fenix and Filippo Pop Culture Chaos. Now, we are here on a Video Game Wednesday and wanted to remind everybody that we are anywhere that you find podcasts: Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, about 20 in all. So, if you are looking for us somewhere other than Facebook or YouTube or the ngbn.tv app, just go anywhere you get podcasts and you can find this great show. Now, the other thing is that at the end of each show, we like to put out our daily Instagram story poll, which gives you guys the opportunity to vote on one choice or the other. And your vote gets you into an entry to win a Loot Crate subscription box at the end of the month. And always comes with some great mystery things, whether it's movie, TVs, video games, horror. It's a mystery. But there's some great stuff, and t-shirts are one of the big things that they tend to put in there. But today's Instagram story poll is, as we were talking earlier, Marvel versus Capcom fighters. So again, we're talking video games today. So do you prefer the Marvel fighters, like Marvel superheroes, the Capcom fighters, like Street Fighter, or where they match up and like Marvel versus Capcom 2, who do you prefer to play as? You can enter once a day. So when you vote, your entry goes in. So if you vote every day, you have that many entries. Well, in the fourth segment, as we like to do, call it Collector's Corner, where we talk about collectibles within the space of the day that we're talking about. And today is video games. Now, last week we talked about the most expensive video games ever sold at auction, which, some big, $2 million for a copy of Super Mario Brothers. Well, today's are a little bit different in that we're looking at surprisingly valuable video games that you might have in your home right now, whether it's something you put away in the basement or in the attic and, you just never got around to looking at. These games may be worth some money. So let's go ahead and get into it. And in this Collector's Corner, this very first example actually fits very well with our soundbite, which is...
Take my money!
So the game we're talking about is for the Microsoft Xbox. It is Futurama, the video game, manufactured by Vivendi Games, came out in 2003. Now, if you own an original Xbox, you should have a look for a copy of Futurama, the video game, while you're poking around. The game's relative rarity means collectors will pay a premium to get their hands on a copy, up to $150 in fact. Now, the Sony PlayStation 2 version is worth even more. It can sell up to $260 on eBay. And we're talking about auction sites like eBay and things along those lines where people are paying this sort of money. Moving on with our next one, also for the Microsoft Xbox, came out in 2006, as alluded in the name. It is Outrun 2006, coast to coast, made by Sega. Likewise, you might want to hunt through your games collection to check whether you have a copy of Outrun 2006. The perennially popular Sega racing game is prized by collectors, and your copy could net you up to $200. Not bad for a game that cost, $50 originally? Moving on with our next one, for an old computer system that many people didn't have, especially if you live here in the US. We're talking about Black Lamp for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, made in 1988. A platform fantasy game set in the fictional kingdom of Allegoria, Black Lamp was released in 1988 by Firebird Software. The version for the ZX Spectrum computer, which sold like hotcakes in the UK, is now worth up to $270. Again, I don't know anybody who had that system, let alone that game, but if you have it, $270, not a bad deal. This next game is one that I did have in my collection. I was a big fan of the early RPGs in the 32-bit era, like Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross. Well, this game was Suikoden from Konami, actually Suikoden 2, for the Sony PlayStation 1, came out in 1999. Reviews and sales for Suikoden 2 were dire following its release in 1999, and the role-playing game flopped big time, but the title is now regarded as a cult classic and one of the best role-playing games of the 32-bit era. Copies in decent condition are worth a pretty penny, and in some cases more than $200 each on the leading auction sites. Complete copies in their box can sell for more than $300. Again, these are all games that you may have sitting in a box, your basement, attic somewhere. Who knows, but might be worth going to look for. Now, this next game is for a system that I definitely have. I didn't have the game, but for the most part, it was a huge, not the game, but the system was a huge hit for its time. We're talking Spelunker for the Commodore 64, released in 1983. Spelunker is a platform cave-themed game that was lauded by critics following its release in 1983. Having spawned several sequels across a variety of computers and consoles, the original Commodore 64 title is worth a tidy sum these days. In fact, up to $300. And of course, if you have the box and the artwork and the instructions, who knows where that could go from there. Moving on is a GameCube game that I did not have. I had a GameCube, loved it, but I can't even say I even saw this game on the shelves. It is Cubivore Survival of the Fittest from Atlas Games. Came out in 2002. This quirky Japanese action-adventure Nintendo GameCube game, which features bizarre geometric characters, is coveted by gamers despite its fairly simple graphics and gameplay. Today, a copy in good condition can sell for more than $340 on the auction sites. So, if you happen to pick this up for your kids, have it sitting around somewhere, might be worth a pretty penny. Moving on with the next one is a game from Capcom, obviously capitalizing on the success of their Resident Evil series. This game is Haunting Ground for the Sony PlayStation 2, came out in 2005. Not for the faint-hearted, Haunting Ground is a survival horror title that follows a young woman who wakes up in a creepy dungeon after a car accident. Copies are somewhat few and far between. Obviously, the game didn't sell well, and complete copies in good condition can go for up to $370 a piece on platforms like eBay. So, I remember seeing it on the shelves, never picked it up, but kind of kicking myself for not doing that. This next game is for the Nintendo DS, very much in the vein of Animal Crossing, basically these games where you're building on platforms. This one may have even predated Animal Crossing. It is Shepherd's Crossing 2. Came out in 2010. Copies of this farm-based simulation game, which features Japanese anime-esque graphics, are reasonably thin on the ground these days and highly desirable among collectors who will pay around $390 for a complete collection. And again, these are one of those games that if you are in a thrift store, a flea market, a pawn shop, that you may just sort of naturally pass over because it's not everybody's cup of tea. But if you come across it, definitely pick it up. Next game up on our list is a game for the Microsoft Xbox that came in a huge hardware pack that I never knew anybody who had one. And I can obviously see why. It is Steel Battalion from Capcom, came out in 2002. It's one of the rarest Xbox games. Steel Battalion is a collector's favorite. The original release was restricted to just 2,000 copies and came with a gigantic controller with 2 joysticks, copious buttons, switches, and levers. If you're fortunate enough to own one, you'll be pleased to know that it's worth up to $400 today. And I don't know many people who would have even held on to a peripheral like that because it was just so big. Next up on the list is a game for a system that was even before my time. I was two when it came out, but we're talking the ColecoVision Motocross Racer and Tomark the Barbarian. Came out in 1983, this Zonix double pack for ColecoVision, the American console that sold 2 million units in the early 1980s, is highly rated by collectors. Playable copies command lucrative prices, with the best condition specimens going for up to $750 at auction. So that's a big jump from Xbox Steel Battalion up to a 1983 ColecoVision game that I can't even imagine most people have around anymore, but if you do, almost $800. Next up on our list is a game for the Sony PlayStation 2. Not familiar with it myself. It's called Kuon, Kuon. Another survival horror game for the PlayStation 2, which is set in a mansion in ancient Kyoto, received mediocre reviews, and as a consequence, was released in limited quantities outside of Japan. These days, collectors will pay from about $450 to $780 to get a hold of a North American or European copy. And of course, the North American European copies were different from the Japanese copies in the types of systems that they played in. So, if you were lucky enough to have it, definitely take a look into it. Next up is a Sega Master System game. Again, a little before my time. I had an NES and then moved on to the Genesis from there. But the game is James Buster Douglas Knockout Boxing. Came out in 1990 and is inspired by the underdog fighter who floored Mike Tyson in 1990 and stole his heavyweight crown. James Buster Douglas Knockout Boxing is a nifty side-scrolling boxing game, which you don't get very much in boxing games. The Sega Master System title is most valuable. Copies in good condition sell for up to $900 each on eBay and similar auction sites. And then finally here on this Video Game Wednesday, a game for the Atari 5200, a system that I did have, was Bounty Bob Strikes Back. Came out in 1984. The rarest and most technically unique Atari 5200 game, Bounty Bob Strikes Back is the sequel to the classic Miner 2049er and is notable for boasting 25 levels, which was a big deal back in 1984. Today, collectors will part with up to $900 to acquire a copy of the game. Again, if you have it with the box, it could be worth even more than that. But folks, that does it for today's show. On this Video Game Wednesday, we will be back tomorrow with Comic Book Thursday. So if you're into comic books, collecting, taking a look back at some collector's items, we definitely invite you to join us then. In the meantime, enjoy your Wednesday, and we will see you all tomorrow.